Have you ever seen a great idea, a new law, a market reform, a policy that looks perfect on paper, just completely crash and burn in the real world? It's this puzzle we see over and over. Well, today, we're going to unpack a powerful new concept that explains exactly why that happens. You know the story. On one side, you've got the blueprint, the elegant plan. It looks flawless. A well-designed market, a fair legal system, you name it. But then you look at the other side, the messy reality. Widespread dysfunction, chaos, and results that are the total opposite of what anyone wanted. So what on earth is happening in that gap between the plan and the reality?
You can almost think of this problem as a kind of institutional glitch. It's this bizarre thing where you can take the exact same set of rules, the same plan, and in one place it works beautifully, while in another it's a complete disaster.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract academic idea. We see this play out all the time. A healthcare policy that's a model of efficiency in one country becomes a bureaucratic nightmare just next door. An anti-corruption law cleans house in one government but is totally ignored in another. Why? What's the variable? Now, we always hear the usual suspects, right? Oh, there wasn't enough political will, or the culture is just too corrupt. Maybe it's different values, or they just didn't have enough money. And look, those things can definitely play a part, but they always feel incomplete, like they're describing symptoms, not the root cause. They don't really explain the glitch itself. So to get to the real answer, we've got to look past the laws on paper. We need a new way to think about it. So let's try this. Let's start thinking of our big governing ideas, democracy, free markets, the rule of law, as pieces of incredibly complex software. An idea like the rule of law isn't just a nice phrase you put on a building. No way. It's an entire operating system for a society. It's got rules, complex procedures, known bugs, and it requires constant, active maintenance by experts to keep it from crashing. It doesn't just run itself. And this right here, this is the core of the issue. Passing a new law or writing a new constitution, that's just like installing the software on your computer. That's step one. But for that software to actually do anything, you need a critical mass of expert users who know how to operate it, who can troubleshoot it, and who know what to do when things go wrong.
Which brings us to the big idea of this whole explainer. It's a new framework called Systemic Mastery Density, or SMD. This is the hidden variable. This is the thing that finally helps us understand that gap between the plan and the reality.
Okay, so the formal definition from the source material says it's about having sufficient mastery in the right places to operate governing ideas as functional systems, not symbols. I know, that's a mouthful. But put simply, it's about whether a system can actually make an idea work in the real world instead of just having it be a nice-sounding symbol. Let's break that down.
Here's the most important thing to get about SMD. It's not about the average IQ of a country or how many PhDs you have. It's about something much more specific. It asks, do you have people with deep practical expertise in running the societal software? Are those people in the critical jobs where decisions actually get made? And do they have the real authority to act on what they know?
So a system with high SMD really has three key ingredients. First, you need the mastery itself, people who genuinely understand the guts of the system. Second, you need the right placement. Those masters have to be the judges, the regulators, the key ministers. Expertise sitting on the sidelines is useless. And third, you need embedding. Their jobs have to come with real, durable authority. When they make a decision, it has to stick.
Okay, so that's what a healthy system looks like. But what about the opposite? What happens in a low-density system? This is where the framework becomes a really powerful tool for dissecting exactly how institutions fail. In a system with high SMD, the chain reaction is pretty clear. You've got high mastery in key roles, which leads to high-quality decisions. Those good decisions create institutional coherence. All the parts of the government are actually working together. And that, of course, results in high system performance. The plan actually matches the reality. But what about the flip side? What happens to that chain when the mastery just isn't there, or when the people who do have the mastery are stuck on the sidelines with no power? Well, that's when the entire system starts to act in really strange and broken ways. This quote from the source paper just absolutely nails it. It says that in these systems, actors learn to optimize appearances rather than preserve invariance. Okay, so invariants are just the core non-negotiable principles of the system, like justice in a court. When people lack the mastery to protect those deep principles, they start chasing what looks good on paper instead.
And here is a perfect classic example. The real goal, the invariant, is a fair and just legal system. But that's complicated. It's hard to measure. So in a low mastery system, it gets replaced with an easy-to-measure proxy, the number of cases closed per month. Now, judges are rewarded for closing cases quickly, not necessarily justly. The system gets fantastic at hitting its target while completely failing at its actual purpose.
This way of thinking also helps us solve another really frustrating puzzle. Why is it that so many well-intentioned reforms, the ones designed to fix these exact problems, so often end up making everything even worse? And here's the punchline. It's because most reforms just add more rules, more procedures, more layers of bureaucracy. In other words, they add complexity. But they do absolutely nothing to increase the system's underlying mastery to handle all that new complexity. So the reform just ends up overloading an already struggling system, which makes things like proxy substitution even more likely, and the whole system fails even harder.
So, SMD isn't just an interesting theory. It's a powerful new lens. It's a diagnostic tool that helps us understand why our institutions succeed, or, more often, why they fail. Let's wrap up with the key things you should take away from all this.
First, a lot of institutional failure is what you could call an epistemic mismatch. The software is just too complicated for the system's ability to run it. Second, remember that the placement of that mastery is way more important than the average skill level of the population. Third, this is a neutral, diagnostic tool. It is not a judgment on a country's culture or its values. And finally, and this is the big one, we have got to stop looking at the laws on paper and start seriously analyzing the real on-the-ground capacity of the system to actually operate.
And that leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. We spend so much time and energy arguing about which ideas are best, which policies are right. But what if that's the wrong conversation? What if the biggest problem we face isn't a shortage of good plans, but a critical shortage of the systemic mastery we need to actually bring any of those plans to life?